Story 11. Fallnavir, the tallest elf. Fallnavir was an elf of unusual proportions. Where his friends and family stood no taller than a human toddler, he towered over them by several feet. He lived in the shaded woods with his mother, Earia, and his father, Fallnavir, both of whom were of normal size for elvish folk. He had asked them once, when he was younger, why he was so much larger than anyone else of their people. They claimed that they had no idea that when he was born, he had been no larger than the egg of a chicken, but had grown rapidly over a very short amount of time. "Perhaps 'twas our fault, my boy," his father had said. "Maybe we fed you too much. Heavens know you ate enough for 10 babes. He had then poked Fallnavir in the knee, as this was the highest point he could reach, and chuckled at his joke. "Hush now, old man," his mother had scolded as she whipped at him with a dish towel. "Do you not think the boy gets enough ribbing at his expense from the other children?" It was true, unfortunately. The other boys and girls of their village were constantly making jokes about his height, as well as always picking him as the last team member for games of hide and seek. It wasn't done in a cruel manner, however. The other children always made sure to include him in their fun and were kind, but the constant reminders of how different he was from his peers had begun to really bother him. He could not hide among the shrubs as well as the other children, nor could he fit into their homes without doubling over at the waist. His parents had had to make extensive renovations to their own home as he had grown, making theirs the largest dwelling in the village. His father had spoken true about Fallnavir's appetite as well, for the boy ate more during his breakfast than did all the adults of the village in an entire day. To make up for the amount of food he consumed, Fallnavir worked harder than anyone else. He would farm the tiny plots of cleared land that dotted the area, pulling a plow that would normally take the efforts of 3 adults to move. He weeded and sowed, harvested and stored the crops, and would even help cut down and haul away trees to make more room for farming. His efforts were recognized and appreciated by everyone in the village, but Fallnavir still could not help but feel like a burden to his friends and family. One early spring morning, overcome by these melancholy thoughts, Fallnavir set out on a walk through the woods of his home. He had no destination in mind. He only wanted to be alone for a while and to think. Lost as he was in thought, it came as a surprise when he suddenly heard unfamiliar voices speaking in a strange tongue not too far from where he currently was. He looked about himself, only now noticing that he had wandered farther from the village than he ever had before, right to the edge of the forest. Curious as to who the strangers were, Fallnavir crept as silently as he could towards the edge of the tree line. He peeked from behind the trunk of a towering oak tree and was astonished to see a group of large elves just like himself. Coming out from behind the trunk, he hailed the strangers with a traditional elvish greeting. "Nivash talwe igranti shorpan?" The strangers started, caught by surprise by the oddly dressed boy who seemed to spring up out of nowhere. "What's this now?" A bald, round-bellied man stood up from where he had been sitting around the campfire. "Speak up, boy. Who are you to be skulking round this here camp?" Fallnavir did not understand the words the man spoke, but he understood their tone. "Why do you not speak in our language?" he asked the man. I do not understand the strange sounds you are making. Scratching his head, the large-bellied man just stared at Fallnavir. He barked out what seemed to be an order. Two other men hurried away towards a tent situated at the far edge of the camp. After a short while, they escorted another man back towards the fire. This tall, bearded elf was hunched with age. He was bald, save for a fringe of snow-white hair around his scalp. Nivash tawe igranti shorpan. The elder addressed Fallnavir, bowing his head slightly in the boy's direction. He continued speaking in Elvish, leaning heavily on a weathered but stout wooden cane as he did. My traveling companions here are not familiar with the old tongue, but I have studied it since I was but a boy about your age. I must say, your knowledge and pronunciation of the language would put many a learned scholar to shame. My name is Ekmund, and I serve as a translator for my friends here. May I know your name, my boy? It is wonderful to meet you, Elder Ekmund. My name is Fallnavir. Fallnavir bowed toward Ekmund, delighted to have found someone who understood him. I am so happy to see other elves such as myself. I was starting to worry that I would forever be the tallest of my people. Tell me, please, sir, from where do you and yours hail? Are you from a forest like ours? Also, why did you call our language the Old Tongue? Ekman studied the young man before him, stroking his graying beard as he searched for the words to say. Clearly, the boy before him, for some reason or another, believed that he was an elf. Fallnavir, have you ever traveled beyond the bounds of the shaded woods? No, sir. My parents always warned me about wandering too far from home. But I had a lot on my mind today and, well, I lost track of where I was. Tell me, young one, have you ever heard of a creature known as a human? Fallnavir shook his head. No, Elder Ekmund, I cannot say I have. Pray tell me about them. I am always happy to learn. Both I and the men around me are from this particular race, replied Ekmund. After a pause, he continued softly, looking the boy before him in the eyes. As are you, Fallnavir. You are clearly a human child, though you are dressed in the garb of elves and speak their tongue with practiced ease. Fallnavir shook his head hotly, protesting the old man's words. That cannot be true. My mother and father would have told me. They never lie to me. Fallnavir spun around on his heels and ran back into the forest, wary and afraid of these humans and their lies. He ran straight for home, making it back just as his mother was beginning preparations for the evening meal. Stars above, boy, his mother exclaimed. Slow down there, you caused me such a fright, bursting in through the door like that. Fallnavir apologized before dropping to his knees and wrapping his mother up in a tight bear hug. She squeezed him back as tightly as her tiny arms could. Fallnavir, what's wrong? Are you okay? I was starting to get worried. Neither I nor your father have seen you since early this morning. Standing and taking a step back, Fallnavir wiped his nose and told his mother what had happened while he had been out on his walk. When he finished, she patted him on the knee and told him to sit down while she went and fetched his father. They both had some things they needed to explain to him. Fallnavir dropped heavily into a specially made chair, as his parents' seats would have collapsed under his weight. His mother and father soon returned, his father covered in dirt from working out in the fields all day. He pulled his chair close to Fallnavir, gently patting his leg as he sat. His mother stood behind him, her hands gripping tightly around her husband's shoulders. "It is time you knew, son, and we are sorry that we kept the truth from you for so long. You are indeed a human, as these other men claimed. When we found you, all alone on the outskirts of the forest, crying and kicking at your swaddling blanket, your mother and I decided that the only thing that could be done was to raise you as our own. We never told you about your true heritage because we did not want you to feel as though you did not belong here. The other adults of the village knew, of course, but were wonderful enough to agree not to say anything to you or their children about it." Fallnavir was stunned. He had known he was different, but he would never have guessed that he was this different. He mumbled through his tears, his face bowed towards the floor. Then I'm not even really your son?" In a flash, both of his parents were at his side, hugging him fiercely. "Hush now, Fallnavir," his mother cooed softly. "Do not ever think that you are anything but our beloved son. Yes, we may be of different races, but rest assured, you have always been, and will always be, our baby boy." His father nodded, tears of his own glistening in his eyes. "Aye, your mother speaks the truth, my boy. You are ours, and we are yours. Never let any thought otherwise cross your mind. You are Fallnavir, son of Frontival and Earia, the tallest elf of the shaded woods. It does not matter that you were born human. You are an elf, through and through." Fallnavir could not speak. He merely sobbed as he embraced his mother and father. They were right, of course. It did not matter what he was or wasn't. The only thing that mattered was that he was surrounded by family and friends who loved and accepted him no matter what. Fallnavir, the tallest elf of the shaded woods, would go on to become a great figure and a champion of all of the elves scattered over the entirety of Earia. But that, unfortunately, is a story for another time. The end.
Earia, Earia.